Good evening and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. This is a new era for us at the Villa Park Pod. We now have our very own YouTube channel. We are, after a pre-season break of just before that, doing audio-only shows, and before that being part of the World of Sport TV, we are now standing on our own 2 feet as our own channel. So welcome to our first official episode on the channel. And I'm pleased to welcome Mr. KTAVFC Kevin, who's joining us on our first show. How are you doing, my friend?
Excited, mate, to be here for the first one. Can't wait
Yes.
to chat all things Villa. Lots to talk about in the last few weeks, definitely.
Yes, mate. Yes, mate. And I know it's been a long time coming sorting this channel out. I finally pulled my finger out and got sorted with it. But yeah, it seems quite good considering we've just Villa have come back from a groundbreaking tour, I would say, in terms of being away in Australia. Because looking at some of the stuff on the Birmingham Mail looked like fantastic footage and something that I don't think the players could have probably envisaged happening. The scope of Aston Villa across in Australia and kind of what it meant to all the fans over there. I don't think they kind of imagined that, and it kind of kick-started me into thinking, look at how big Villa is across the globe, and let's push the channel out there a bit further.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about like Villa. If you're a Villa fan, you know you're a massive club, but you don't always probably get the credit from other fans, and there's only so much you can hear. Yeah, how long ago was it when you won the European Cup? You keep banging on about that, particularly when, Forest have won 2 and they were languishing in the lower end of the Championship. Sometimes it's like, look, you've fallen away now. Who are you? And we know we're a big club. We know we're a big club, but you go globally and look, there's definitely a big Villa presence. Obviously, I'd say in a lot of big countries, but it's not like it's for Man United, Liverpool, even probably lately Man City. So stuff like I think is really important because it does show that we're a big club, but this is what you'll start to get that new breed of fans. And, by the way, not just a groundbreaking tour in terms of obviously how great it was, but also, trophy winning tour. Let's not forget about that. We won the Queen's Champions Cup, and that's obviously up there. I think we should probably get, maybe not another star on the shirt, but maybe a moon on the shirt or something, So, yeah. Or maybe
we've got to take what we can get. I mean,
yeah.
we will talk season predictions in a show, very soon. But and I'm sure a cup run will certainly go down well next season. We certainly want to do better in the cups, but definitely we'll take what we can get, mate. The Queensland Champions Cup or whatever they called it. Give it to me now. I'll take it.
Although I've been looking for pictures of Martinez or Mings holding the trophy, but I can't see anything anywhere. But it's a victory nonetheless. And if that means there's a few more little 6, 7, 8-year-old Australian girls and boys wearing a Ollie Watkins shirt or maybe not a Carney Chukwuemeka shirt, but we'll come on to that. But maybe one of the players' shirts and talking to the mates at school about it. And Villa just need to now, and this is the thing I think is so important. I really think there's like a generation of fans now that you'll have. They'll either go one way or the other. They'll be possibly Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea fans in 10 years, or they'll stick out of being Villa fans because Villa gave them something to support. Not that kind of unless your dad's a Villa fan or you're deep into the Villa and you'll support Villa through the leagues. Villa fall away, don't keep pushing on in the Premier League. That's when those fans that probably are not natural Villa fans but buy into that kind of journey, that's when you'll keep them. So I think stuff like this is really important to start to build those foundations.
100%. And I know it sounds cheesy, but I think Steven Gerrard plays a bit of a hand in that as well. Like having a manager of that profile and that stature. I mean, with no disrespect to Dean Smith previously, I think that Steven Gerrard name is known worldwide, isn't it? So that affects it, and that affects the attraction of younger fans to Villa as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's no doubt about the star quality that he's got. And there's been plenty of players that have failed as managers, and plenty of people that are probably getting jobs as managers just purely because of their playing background. But he's obviously got a good management career so far. He did some really good stuff with Rangers, and there's just an aura about him. I even think there's an aura about him that I wouldn't even say like Lampard's got. And obviously, I'm slightly rose-tinted glasses on this, but he just holds himself so well in how he speaks to the media, how people tend to talk about him. what I love more about Gerrard than anything else is we see his link with these players all over the world, and like it could be some random like 25-year-old from it could be anywhere, like the depths of Europe, and they'll be like, my favourite player is Steven Gerrard, and I'm like, yes, that's our manager. And if that helps you get Coutinho's over the line, whoever else it might be, then it's no bad thing, is it really?
100%, mate. 100%. So we will do an overall review of the tour to Australia. As I say, it was looking at the footage. I think watching the games, it proved to be a very useful tour for a number of reasons, I think. But we obviously finished off the tour with a big match, and it seems to be the thing across all teams really at the moment, playing these big matches abroad. Real Madrid and Barcelona played yesterday. Chelsea and Arsenal played. And there's been one or two other big games, and Villa played Manchester United yesterday morning, and it ended up being a 2-2 draw. And if ever there was a proverbial game of two halves, that was it. And it was much more competitive than I thought it was going to be. And I think when you're playing in front of 60,000 fans, I think it was like over 58,000. You can't help but get caught up in that competitive spirit. And yeah, and obviously the pitch wasn't fantastic, but firstly, just to start off with the game, it was a very competitive, friendly, so to speak, wasn't it? And one that sets you up, I think, well for the season.
Yeah, I managed to see most of the game based on sort of where I was watching it, but I think it's essential that with these games, look, they always downplayed it, and say it's just about fitness and legs, but victories or comebacks from the depths of defeat to a last minute draw. This is what builds a team. This is what builds a mentality and a mindset of never being defeated, and that's so important for Villa, I think, to shake off that image of being slightly soft bellied. You know what I mean? Where go a goal down, possibly not going to win. So I think it's really, really important. Look, who do we have here? Look at this.
We've got another guest, the legend himself, George Fowler.
Hi,
How
George.
are you doing, mate?
How you doing, boys? You all good?
Yes,
Great, mate.
very well, very well, very well.
Nice
We
to
are
see you,
just starting on the United game, and just sort of saying how before delving into sort of the actual nuts and bolts of the game, just how these days these games, they seem a little bit more than friendlies, so to speak, because you've got 60,000 fans, you've got you go halfway across the world, and you're playing against it, other Premier League sides. It does feel like a bigger game than maybe what it should be, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It felt quite high profile watching that yesterday. It's not like Villa to sort of do tours of Australia, is it? Normally we used to play in Walsall and Tamworth and teams like that. Yeah, this seemed like a big deal, and it's great for the profile of the club, and it's the commercial side of it and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I don't think we disgraced ourselves at all.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So let's dive into the game. First half, I don't know if that was maybe his strongest side. I think he's gone in with a couple of formations that he likes to take a look at. But if we take the first half team, it was Martinez in goal, Digne left back, Cash right back, Mings and Carlos centre back, Kamara, Ramsey and McGinn in that midfield, with Coutinho in the number 10. And then Ings and Watkins up front. So kind of like a 4-3-1-2, maybe something like that, where the width is provided by the fullbacks, and Coutinho's meant to be playing like a bit of a free role. What did you lads? I'll come to you first, Kev. What did you think of that formation in the first half, and how the players kind of played within it?
I don't mind the formation personally, but I do think we're better with one up top rather than two, and maybe I would change that if it was a different two. But from all I've seen with Wings, Watkins, that should be their name, Wings. when they get going, flying with Wings, Watkins and Ings together, it just doesn't work. I think we've seen it enough times last season and this season to know that for whatever reason it's just not working. And I think that it affects deeper in the team. I think Coutinho struggles with those two there. I don't know what it is. I just think that it's not working. So formation itself, I think is decent, but I think the personnel in it not quite right. And I think Gerrard have learned a lot from it, really, because you've got those three, two England strikers, and Coutinho's name speaks for himself, and we were just toothless in attack. So, and look, the pitch doesn't help. Absolutely not. I mean, I think it's a struggle for anybody, and Kamara was a bit loose with it, and kept losing the ball a bit. And I thought, well, can it just be one of those halves? Can you really judge it on 45 minutes? But if you look at pre-season in terms of the striking options and those two up front there, Watkins got a goal against Walsall, Ings got a penalty in many of the games, but it's been largely ineffective, really. There's another striker, obviously, who's come off a rip-roaring time with England under 21s, and obviously did well last season at Preston, Cameron Archer, who's probably now more and more on people's lips than he ever has been, and that says a lot when you've got Watkins and Ings. So there you go, basically. So I think I think the formation itself is grand. I just think he's not a lot about the personnel playing it.
Yeah. George, what do you? I mean, there's been a few comments. I mean, I made a comment on Twitter about Ings, and I think as much as he's a very good player and a very good finisher, and I might be speaking out of turn here, but I just don't see him as a Villa centre forward. I just don't see that we create enough chances. B, I don't think he's effective enough at holding the ball up or causing a nuisance of himself. And yeah, C, I just don't think he's going to work as with him up top. But what do you think about the argument of the fact that we're not creating enough chances for him? Because that could also be levelled that the fact that Ings needs chances, and if he's scrapping around for one chance every game at best, we're not going to get the best out of him, are we?
No, we're not. I mean, we've done this to death last season, sort of waiting for him and Watkins to come alive together or as a pair. Generally, as a pair, it wasn't working last year, as you said, Kev. But then towards the back end of the season, they had 2 or 3 good games where all of a sudden you saw a bit of hope and a couple of goals and a couple of assists, and you're starting to think, oh, maybe they are starting to gel. But when they do play together, I think we seem to lose a bit of impetus elsewhere on the pitch. It's almost you sacrifice the solidity in midfield to try and get the strikers, creating and scoring some goals. But I don't know. I mean, what does Gerrard do? Does he sit there and watch Southampton for 3 years and see what Ings used to do for them? Because Ings has had a great career and he scored goals everywhere he's played. So has he just got Villa disease? Why all of a sudden can he not score them for us? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's such a tricky one because I think the problems stem from midfield. Personally, we know what Danny Ings is as a player, and we know what Ollie Watkins is as a player, and we know exactly what Coutinho's like as a player. So they're kind of players who need the ball. Obviously, Watkins is going to chase the ball into channels and things, but that midfield three of Kamara, Ramsey and McGinn. Now, obviously, it's a pre-season game. They're getting fitness back. Ramsey's come off the back of an under-21s tournament as well. But that midfield still seemed a little bit weak for me when you compared it with the Man United midfield of Fred and Van der Beek and Fernandes. He buzzes around everywhere. He's just seemed all over the place in that first half. So that is a worrying sign for me, is that we're still carrying McGinn in that side, who's a great trier and a great player, but at 5'8" and just with a big arse, for me, it's not going to be enough for that midfield. For me, I don't know what you boys think of that.
Yeah, I think other than obviously, I'm sure we'll talk about it more shortly. The second half performance from Leon Bailey, but I felt everything in front of the back four was pretty ineffective. Really, everything. I mean, I thought you look at our strikers, our midfield, and just not much was happening. And that is, of all the positives we've got, we've obviously not lost in pre-season yet, and there's a lot of good things to move on. I think the lessons that will have been learnt will be loads of positives, but also there probably needs to be some tweaks, because I think the word for me is just dominant, and we're not dominant in midfield. And I think that you can get the energy and the engine and fitness can come there, and you can be buzzing around. Because look, Fred and Fernandes aren't particularly imposing. Van der Beek's not imposing characters. It's not like a Matic or a Cheikh Doucouré or someone like that, or who's a Vieira who's rangy and strong and athletic. But it just feels like something's not quite working. And I just think now, looking at the combinations together, does Gerrard have enough combinations now to tweak it, to keep people on their toes? or does he need to bring someone else in? But right now, for me, something's just not working, and I can't really put my finger on what it is.
I just wonder, lads. There's been a lot. I say Kamara yesterday that was my first look at him, and I thought he looked okay. He wasn't. They all saying it was his worst preseason game so far. And you mentioned yesterday, Rich, on the group chat that he looked weak, which really concerned me because I thought that was what we were buying. You know, a big physical presence in midfield. But Gerrard's talked up Kamara's ability as like a number 8 and as a ball player. So could we look at Shane Martin's not here, but the Nakamba fan club king, but bringing Nakamba in as the holder and then having the quality of a ball playing Kamara maybe in front of him, and then giving McGinn a bit more of a not a guaranteed place every week, which might give him a kick up the arse.
Yeah, I would be leaning towards Tim, and I will talk about him.
Yeah,
we'll talk about him in a little while. But yeah, I'd be leaning more towards Eric Bonham, and I think if out of all the midfielders that have played in this preseason tour, he's come out the best out of all of them. He's 6'2", he's big, strong. And as I say, the game is going more that way. You know, you look at all the teams now, what type of midfielders they're signing. You look at how Joe Linton dominated that midfield for the second half of last season for Newcastle. It's going that way. We can't afford to have weak, small midfielders. And and Gerrard loves him, absolutely loves him. And so I'll be more leaning towards him. Not saying I don't like Nakamba, but I just think that he would get eaten in midfield at the moment. He might be able to work with someone else with, in a more defensive type midfield because he gets about the pitch really well. But yeah, in terms of physicality, we need that physicality. And I did Kamara looks a fantastic player, but as soon as I saw him, with his holding the shirt up, I thought those shoulders need to get bigger, son. You need to get on the weights. Like he's just going to get the time on the ball that he probably enjoys in the French league. So, good player, but I think he's going to have a real wake up call, and hopefully, that first half was a bit of a wake up call for him, in that game. But on the goals, I think obviously the goals that we conceded, I think they both came down the flanks. Is that a concern for you with sort of Cash, if he plays that formation with Cash and Digne, who obviously are excellent players, but are going to carry the majority of the attacking threat for us? Does that worry you, especially with, say, a Tyrone Mings at the back who, sometimes can get caught, ball watching or underneath the ball? Does that concern you a little bit, boys?
Yeah, definitely for me. I think that it seems our main source of width is our fullbacks, and if they're not attackers, are they? I mean, obviously they've got good delivery, good quality, particularly Digne, but it does leave you open at the back and against better teams, which is where obviously someone like Bailey comes in. But from my perspective, you can't really be relying on your fullbacks to be giving you that level of attacking potency. I know it's an additional benefit to the team, but it leaves you too exposed. So, yeah, look, back to your point, George, about could Nakamba be the one? That we've obviously had some good chats in this pod, put good in inverted commas, but about Nakamba. Listen, he can do a job as a supplementary defensive midfielder, but for me, there need to be a better option there as an alternative. Probably, if Kamara's not the guy, is Nakamba the one to be there? We've got plans to bring in another defensive midfielder. I'm not sure that's on the list.
Well, I heard it was another 8 we were looking for, not another 6. Yeah. So I'm a bit confused by it all, to be honest. I'm not sure what we're doing.
Well, I do think though that, as Richard said, like Timmy Rogbinham, definitely, I think he's knocking on the door hard now. Just like,
you think he's ready, lads? Here, you think he's not going to get loaned out or anything like that?
Well, I think he could easily get loaned out, but I do look at him. I look at Kessler Hayden's performances.
Yeah.
I look at Archer's performances and think, actually, we've got some real answers now coming from our under-23 squad. And that's a great thing to have because other teams do it. Other teams have got, Curtis Jones, he's playing for Liverpool. And, you see other players coming through who are young, who are, Chelsea have had a few last season. Why not? I mean, if he physically is good enough, as in, he's not, he looks more of a man than probably a lot of players of his age, isn't he? Then why not? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we loaned him out and Kessler Hayden and Archer, but I also wouldn't be surprised if all of them stayed and started to compete. And I think that's great. Look at our player of the season last year. Pretty much was Cash, right?
Yeah.
The way Kessler Hayden's performed on the tour, and Cash can be a bit loose sometimes. How much more do you need to be told to keep on the edge of your seat when you've got him waiting, breathing down your neck to come on, as opposed to potentially a supplementary utility player like Ashley Young, whatever, to come on. So I think that it's good. It's pressure for people to put performances in, and that's what we need. People have probably been a bit too comfy in the shirts. McGinn's been a bit comfy in his shirt.
Yeah,
really,
definitely.
Watkins has been too comfy. Cash has been too comfy. Now you've got some competition. You've got to be on it.
Absolutely. So obviously we went in half-time 2-0 down. Trying to convince ourselves that it's only pre-season, it's only a friendly, it doesn't really matter. But really, you're like, fucking hell, we're getting beat 2-0 against United. So second half, a different team, and up steps this man, who's been the quiet man, obviously, for last season and had a real turbulent time. But George, did we see a real glimpse of a determined Leon Bailey in that second half against Man United?
Yeah, absolutely. Literally, the first time he got on the ball, he just showed intent, didn't he? It's just nice. I think I said it yesterday, lads. Nice to see a bit of pace because we just don't have it in our side. And the second he started running, it's almost as the rest of the lads thought, "Oh, that's how you do it." And all of a sudden, we're running all over the pitch, and he just got at Man United. And I thought if there's anything to criticise him for, he got a tad greedy a few times, but he G'd the rest of the lads up, and he got the tempo up for the boys. And I think he was the catalyst to the good second half that we put in, and obviously the revival in the game.
Yeah, and what a great goal, Kev. I mean, picked it up out on that right hand side, cut inside, double step over inside Lindelof, and then just picked out the drink bottle of the keeper and right into the bottom corner. I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that, really, can you?
It was like a Bertrand Traore finish. I felt like just a calm, casual side foot, but perfectly executed. George, you're absolutely right, mate. It's pace. You need pace in a team, and people say Watkins is quick. I don't really see it. I mean, maybe I've got no concept.
He's quite deceptively quick, I think, Watkins. Okay. I think what Watkins is good at is the continuous runs, like a little bit like Grealish used to be. Like most players can probably do 6 or 7 full sprints every game, like full 20-meter, 30-meter sprints, whereas Watkins can probably do like 10 to 12. So he looks fast. He looks faster, like 80 minutes. After 80 minutes, he looks faster than everyone else because his fitness level's just so high, like his speed, stamina is so high. So yeah, I think that's where Watkins is quick, but Bailey's just got pure frightening pace. And there was one move, I think it was this one here where he took it round the keeper, where Buendia just saw him and he just played it through, and Bailey just took it first time with the outside of his left foot just straight in front of him and just ran. And that's just, it's so scary for teams to have to deal with, because they don't know whether to, because if they stand off, he'll run at you, and if they play a high line, he'll run in behind. And yeah, that's what we've missed. That's what Leicester have played off for the last 8-9 years with Jamie Vardy. It's just it's impossible to defend against.
If you keep the fitness as well, this is the important bit, because obviously last season he was so fragile, wasn't he? And he never really got going. And then when he did play, we've all been there probably, you're trying too hard, to do something. You've probably not been as effective. He's playing against good opposition and he's coming on with, not many minutes in the legs and looked a bit loose. He looked like a bit like, is he any better than like Yannick Bolasie? I was thinking at times, he's got the odd trick up his sleeve, but his touch seemed loose. He just seemed a lot more effective. And it's great to see, and the tricks were coming off. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, if he starts doing this a bit more, then we might be in that sort of Alan Maximum territory of people being really, really fearful of him. When you start fearing a player, when you start fearing a player, it takes more players out of the game, because you start putting more and more players on it. And I tell you what, as well, was great seeing Kesler Hayden and Leon Bailey. Last season, we did not have those two on the right hand side. That is a scary. Matt Cash and Bailey absolutely could do the same thing. There's energy, there's pace, there's purpose, there's intensity. Like, why not? Why can't that be all of a sudden the answer to our questions down the side? And do you know what was brilliant? As you said, that double step over sent him to the shops, didn't he? Absolutely. And it totally changed the game. So we all came off probably that halftime thinking, oh, it's only pre-season, Rich, like you say. It's all right. But this is a bang average Man United team. Bang average Man United team. They've not bought that Anthony yet. And they've got who've they got in the team? Rashford.
I think Bruno looked all right first half. I think Sancho was in and out of the game. Rashford looked okay, but
at times,
like you say, we know these players. That you kind of, unless Rashford's going to really, really knuckle down in pre-season and really, change his game. You know what to expect with these players. Like there's nothing new there, is there? There's nothing new with Man United. They're quite physical. They're going to press a little bit more this season because of the manager, but ultimately, like you say, that there's not a great deal. There's not a great deal of difficulty to kind of play against and defend against. The odd bit of brilliance from a Sancho or a Fernandez is what you're going to get essentially, but there's nothing out of the ordinary with them at the moment.
No, and they've not got that imposing sort of threat that they used to have, and the dominant kind of like the worry you'd have, playing Man United ain't possible. We've had, look at the last 3 games against them, came out from 2-0 down in the league. 2-0, if I look at the last 4 games against them, 2-0 down in the league, got a 2-2 draw, and we could have won it. They were holding on at the end. Obviously, came back from 2-0 down in the friendly and come back and absolutely deserved it. We beat them 1-0 at their place, and we battered them in the FA Cup at their place, and now they beat us 1-0.
Don't get started on that again.
And I think for Villa, in recent times, we haven't really, other than that Liverpool result and Arsenal a couple of seasons back, to be fair, everyone was beating Arsenal then, but we've not really put that into, that kind of, that sense of Villa are back in terms of being a threat. And I'm not saying we're going to finish ahead of Man United. Prediction show will come next week. But we should be looking at Man United and thinking, why can't we compete with you? And I mean compete with you and not do the usual, like, lose 2-1 with a Fernandez penalty or, something going off and, like, flicking off Cash. And that's what we were all thinking. Deflection off Cash, 2-0. And I'm sat there thinking, I don't know if you're that good. I don't know if you haven't got a striker. Your wingers are bang average. Your midfielders are all right. Fernandez is off a bad season. Maguire at centre-half. What? Why don't we sack him?
No, I'm saying he had a good game as well. But no, and I think the other key point is our young players are better than their young players.
Yes. Yeah, it's a really, really great point, that, Rich. Absolutely. We are looking at a situation now from the development of the youth team where, and we're not even talking about, obviously, the likes of like Louis Barry potentially to come through still, and Chuck Weaker's not even obviously in the picture because of his contract situation. We've got young players that are frightening. I mean, Aaron Ramsey, obviously coming behind him.
Finn Azaz, who's gone to bloody Plymouth Argyle and banged in 2 goals already.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a really good platform, isn't it, for these players to come in? But Purslow has always said this really well. If you're not making a difference as a young player, what's the point you being there? You got to make a difference.
Yeah.
So,
well, just to wrap up the game, obviously 92nd minute, George. We actually score a goal from a set piece, and it's Leon Bailey again with the assist, and Callum Chambers with a header. David De Gea was left flailing and was nowhere to be seen. Callum Chambers obviously got the goal, but has he played himself into a first team spot?
Hands up if you think yes.
What Chambers?
Hands up if you think yes.
I'll tell you, I'm getting there, mate. Really, considering we paid peanuts for him, he hasn't put a foot wrong any time he's played, in my opinion.
Wasn't it a free transfer?
He's been really, really good. Apparently, I think we paid minimal fee, mate. That was the word.
Yeah, nominal fee. Yeah, paid out his contract or whatever. But yeah, I mean, like, he's a threat from set pieces.
Yeah, he likes your goal, doesn't he?
He's calm at the back. He's tall. He's big, strong. He can pass.
What have we been talking about?
Pass the ball quickly,
mate. What have we been talking about a lot is the distribution of our centre halves. I mean, I talk about it every 20, even to myself when I'm just on my own at home. Why do we keep kicking it out? Right? Olsen's been watching Mings and Collins' distribution. Do you notice that?
Yeah, I think he certainly needs.
I bet he got some bollocking at the end of that game from Gerrard.
But I was thinking, I had this little dream. I was like, Diego Carlos, Callum Chambers getting the ball from the back and finding an Aston Villa attacker with a pass.
No, that doesn't. No, what are you talking about? I know it doesn't happen.
It was like magical. There was an evil witch and a fairy princess. It was like, no, it just the distribution is in the modern game is so important, and it should be an absolute given that you can defend if you're a centre half, that you can head the ball and you can intercept. Right, that's it. But that's you could bring in a non-league centre half that could do an effective job in terms of heading the ball out and blocking. But surely the technical ability is a bit that sets you apart. And look, Konza and Ming sometimes go on marauding runs. That we're like, where's this come from? And but it's the simple stuff. And do you know what it is? It's the speed and the impetus for me. The amount of times when I'm standing there watching it, the ball comes from the keeper or from the fullback. They've got it. There's a 2 or 3 second window to ping a diagonal, to set a Bailey away or a Dina or a Cashaway, whatever. And it doesn't happen. And they're the moments you miss the opportunity. Look how many goals does Salah score? Or did Suarez used to score? Just being sent a diagonal ball over the top to run onto. And these are the moments when if you're not got that outlet, then you're just trying to do the usual things to break a team down. And we've not been great at it. So Chambers, for me, the way he's played, I think he's got himself into. I'd start him. I really would.
Yeah. The only thing, I don't know about you boys, but if all of a sudden he plays 3-4 games in a row, a bit like Courtney Hawes, when they come in, they do a really good job and we all love them. I don't want my heart broken. 3-4 games in, all of a sudden you start seeing the weaknesses and realise why he's a free transfer, and you think,
George,
no.
This is a good thing, mate. This is a good thing because now you've got Esri Konza waiting in the wings, and you've got Tyrone Mings waiting in the wings potentially. So it's not a bad thing. It's not like you've got Bjorn Engels and whoever else it was we had on the bench previously, waiting to come in, playing Al Mohammadi centre half. Not like you've got that situation. You've got this is the good thing about it. When I keep your spot, Chambers, make sure you play well. Yeah. Play good passes. Make sure you don't, no mistakes. Make sure you keep playing well. Technically, his deliveries are great.
Oh, 100%. And look at the last season. Some of the passes that pass he played with the outside of the foot over to, was it Louis? Coutinho laid it across to Louise, I think, for a goal, and then he scored that goal against Leeds away.
What a finish that was!
Corner.
What a finish that was!
Yeah, he's done well, hasn't he? You can't knock him at all.
No, he's done fantastically well. So, yeah, I do think he is. We'll move on to our next sort of section now because I think we've covered the United game. But Chambers is one of those players I think that's come out of this tour with real credit. I think he played like 60 minutes against Leeds, so he got longer against Leeds. I'm not sure if he featured against Brisbane or not, but obviously played yesterday as well. But I think he's a player who's come out with some real credit. Who else has sort of impressed you, Kev, in this tour? Who's really come out with some real credit for you? Obviously speaking on Chambers, we've just featured that, but who else has come out with some credit?
To try and work through the team, some sort of order. I think Olsen's made some good saves, actually from what I've seen. I think he's actually looked quite solid. Distribution, not great, but he'll be a backup. But I think actually he's performed pretty well. Martinez, captain him, I think, for the first time. I think that's obviously positive. Yeah. But we are where we are with the keepers. I think hopefully Martinez is sort of going less and less back to South America this season, so it can be a bit more consistent. Defensively, Chambers clearly. I think Kessel Hayden, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think even young Feeney getting some minutes, but I don't think he'll be a part of the squad. But I think it's just good for him in terms of England. Was he in England under 17?
I think he's under 17's captain. Yeah, I think Gerrard said some really good things about him and said that in training he's already not afraid to sort of tell people what to do and put himself about and stuff. So I could see him maybe a loan for him, but I
think so. League Two, get some real serious opposition. I watched him in the Walsall game. He come on for the second half, and I forgot he was a 17, 8-year-old lad. I forgot he was just playing. I was like, who's that? Oh, it's that young lad, Feeney. So I think they're the main things. Kessel Hayden's been the standout, I think, defender. I think in terms of just we all saw him, obviously, didn't we? In that FA Cup game, if you saw it for Swindon against Man City, when he really showed himself to be as good as anyone on the pitch, really. Did well at MK Dons. Obviously, they nearly got promoted, but I think he's really knocking on that door. So much so that Gilbert wasn't even in the matchday squad, the last two squads. So he's, this is obviously the other side of the question. Midfield wise, you mentioned obviously Tim, definitely. I tell you what, I think Morgan Sanson did really well against Man United second half.
He did very well yesterday.
Do you find this sometimes when you're watching a Villa player, you're not seeing much. You're like, who's he? What a run that was! Who was that? Was that Gwend? No, it wasn't Buendia. That was Morgan Sanson. He's done it again. I think he is done enough to keep him set around the squad. He looks like a good option, running with the ball. When we signed him, you do the usual on YouTube, Morgan Sanson highlights, right? Somebody running with the ball from his own box, so to the other end of the pitch, and he was doing it. So I think
he needs a standout moment, though, lads. So, doesn't he? I think he's a little bit safe. He's all right, but I just want him to see. I want to see a goal or an assist, just something where he does all the good work, and then just a little safe pass. I just want him to see him really stand out for.
Well, he had that moment, didn't he, yesterday, where he took it.
To the shot.
took it on, and he should have shot, but he ended up over hitting across. And there's maybe just that little bit of confidence that he's just lacking, or that he needs a good shot or something like that, or an assist or something like that. But I do agree with you, Kev. I think, I do agree with you. I think he's put himself back in the frame, because I think some of those comments from Gerrard after the Leeds game, maybe, I don't know if he featured in the Brisbane game, but the Leeds game, I think one or two, and I think maybe that was him sort of saying, some of these players need to step up and show me what they can do. I think that might have been aimed a little bit at Sanson as well, because maybe there aren't many clubs queuing up for him, and maybe his agent said, look, you need to pull your finger out. You got another 3 or 4 years at Villa. You need to show what you can do. So I agree.
And then
attacking wise,
on top of that, then obviously Leon Bailey, certainly from the last game, obviously was really, really positive in that second half. And Cameron Archer, I think, because obviously he's shown himself, even when he's not, he didn't do much in the second half against Man United, but when he's had the ball, he still looked like he's got a little bit about him. He wants to run at people, and got a good physical presence about him now as well. And obviously, he doesn't stop scoring, does he? So, other than that, really, I can't really think of any certainly big standouts for me.
No, I think that's fair. I think the other thing that Archer brings is similar to Bailey. He's got that pace in behind. He might not have the lightning pace that Bailey's got, but he's got that sharpness. Like, he's on the shoulder, he'll do a quick dart in behind, and then he's away. He'll have that quick movement in the box where he seems to be able to pull away from the defender at the right time, or get in front of the defender at the near post at the right time. He's just, whatever it is, he seems to have it. And I'm not sure that you can coach what Archer's got in the box. He's just, you saw in that Brisbane game where Watkins missed the ball, when the ball comes across, and Archer's just there, one touch kills it, and then just spins on the ball, and finishes it. It's like,
I'd like to think it was a dummy. It was a dummy from Watkins.
Huh?
Yeah, it was a dummy from Watkins, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I'm sure Watkins claimed it was a dummy. Yeah. George, who's not come out of this tour with, I wouldn't say it was impressed, but who kind of needs to do more, or who's maybe dropped down the pecking order in terms of Gerrard's thoughts, would you say?
Oh, that's a tough question. I'll be honest with you, lads. Yesterday was the first pre-season game I've properly watched, so all I'd be going off is the social media reaction. But I don't know. Actually, I think you've stumped me here, boys.
Well, I think
looking at someone that's not done too well. I've not seen a lot of criticism for anyone, really. Obviously, Kamara yesterday, there was a few disgruntled people saying he was stuck in quicksand and he looked weak and stuff. But that's just going on one game. See a bit of criticism for John McGinn as well, but otherwise I can't really say, lads. I've not seen enough.
No, that's fair enough. It's difficult to say, like, people who, you can certainly say the ones who weren't in the squad, the likes of a Gilbert, or I think Traore wasn't in as well, and one or two others. Do you
think Gerrard's made up his mind already on a few of these?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Gilbert and Traore go, I think, almost certainly.
Yeah, I don't know about Nakamba either. Like, he seems to really like Nakamba. I don't know if he's carrying a knock or anything, but I've not seen him featured in this pre-season tour very much.
El Ghazi's not kicked a ball either, is he?
His wife was he's about to give birth, I think, so he didn't come on the tour just in case. But I think that was mainly a little bit of a safe answer, if I'm being honest there. So I think we'll probably see quite a few, maybe 3 or 4 outgoings across this week, if we can get them out. Obviously, Wesley's already gone on another loan, but I think there'll be 1 or 2 others that'll go out, and if we can get a transfer fee for 1 or 2 of them, I think they'll go. But yeah, I guess when we talked about it before, right at the start, the Watkins Ings partnership hasn't really hit the ground. That formation doesn't seem to work. The Coutinho Buendia conundrum, like, has Coutinho really shown much this tour, or is he just playing himself into fitness? And then, like we've said before, Chambers, does he come in front? Does he now come in front of a Tyrone Mings? Because Diego Carlos looks like he's going to play. Like, he looks like he's just settled into the side like he's been there forever. So, I mean, Kev, I know there's lots of players there that I've mentioned, but any of those that stand out to you as kind of dropping down that pecking order with Gerald, or certainly have got more to do over this next 2 weeks?
Well, there's the usual suspects we've covered. Obviously, the Gilbert, Traore, El Ghazi. I think the Camber's in that now. He has to be. I think there might be a knock there for him, but I think that Irogbinum, young Tim's been seemingly the preferred backup to Kamara. So those definitely. You'll get obviously the likes of the ones on the periphery of the squad, whether that's Jaden Philogene Bidate. I think he's been a bit injured, isn't he? And obviously Keenan as well has been injured.
Yeah, he's been injured.
Courtney Hawes, so I think I can't really see Hawes go anywhere, but you might still see a loan or sell for Philogene Bidate or Davis. But the big losers for me have to be, I think Konza and Mings on the performances of Carlos and Chambers have to now be, I wouldn't say losers, but more like just a bit more worried than they've previously been. And I definitely think the strikers. I mean, I think the big question for the strikers for me is now, I honestly think if you polled a lot of Villa fans and said, who would you have starting in a one up front with, say, Bailey and Coutinho either side of them, I think you'd get a fair proportion would pick for Cameron Archer to start the game. And the fact we're even having that conversation on its own says enough for me. Whether, Watkins has got the experience, 27 goals in 2 seasons. Danny Ings, he's 30 years old, just turned. He looks in great shape. So does Watkins. They both look lean and fit. But goal threat-wise, at the moment, Cameron Archer is up there. And we've talked about potentially loaning him or selling him. And it's like, our strikers are not doing anywhere near enough, anywhere near even close enough to be considering, if we want to finish top 7, 8, 9 this season,
they're going to make or break it, and they Kev, the strikers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a shame that Davis was injured, to be honest, because I'd have liked to have seen him on this tour, especially after the positive loan spell that he had with Forest, and even the game at Wembley. He looked like what he does, what he gives, and I just think that for that type of player, we desperately need up front just as an option, especially with 5 subs now. We need that 6 foot plus striker. He doesn't even have to score that many goals. I mean, Davis does not score many goals, but he brings so much more to the game. He brings if you imagine Coutinho or Buendia playing off Keenan Davis or a Keenan Davis type player. Like, if you know about football, you would just think, well, that's an obvious choice. Like, that has to happen because we don't hold the ball up. Ings can't hold the ball. He can't bring Coutinho into the game. He can't bring Buendia into the game. So the only way they get brought into the game is from a pass from behind them, from a defensive midfielder or a defender. That's the only way they get into the game.
The ball retention.
They've got to carry it. It can't be done from a long ball from the back and then one of the strikers holding it up. It just doesn't happen. It can't happen. So that's where a Keenan Davis type player, and I'm not saying it will be him, but that's where he would be vital for us to bring those players into the game. Or imagine him holding it up, laying it back off, then the ball goes out to Leon Bailey or something like that. It's setting attacks up. It's not all about just scoring goals. It's that player comes in, does that, and then the likes of Danny Ings will score goals off of the back of that, or the likes of Cameron Archer will score goals off of the back of that. So it's a real shame we didn't get to see him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something to occupy defenders, and that's what Leon Bailey does in a different way. But the ball retention is just not good enough for us, and it therefore makes it harder for Coutinho's and Buendia's and even McGinn. I think that in a different team, I thought McGinn actually started the Man United game pretty well, actually. He was getting himself about a bit, and he looks, again, they were looking in really good nick. But one thing I did want to discuss in terms of winners and losers, but is that McGinn and Ramsey combination good enough? Is that good enough on its in terms of the 2-8s? Is that good enough?
I don't keep it well enough. This has been my concern for the last 2 years. They're both good. They're both good willing runners. Both get a goal. Both put themselves about. But just the composure and the simple passing of the ball is definitely not good enough between them two.
I think as well, the problem with that formation is that you stretch so wide because the fullbacks and both fullbacks like to push forward. Then you're asking McGinn and Ramsey to cover behind them. So then if the ball breaks into midfield, you've literally got one midfielder and maybe Coutinho running back to cover that whole central space. I think if you're to play that number 10 position, I think if you're playing Ramsey and McGinn, maybe Buendia fits that number 10 role better, just because he'll work that a little bit harder than say Coutinho would. Because we just get horribly overexposed in that midfield.
Yeah, we do.
When those two in particular are in there, if I think you probably need to go with two more sitting. So like maybe like a Kamara and an Irigbonham, or Kamara and Nakamba, and then one of McGinn and Ramsey, something like that. And then play like Coutinho in front, because it's just too much of a gap in the midfield. It was just too easy for those, like you say, a fairly average midfield in Fred and Donny van der Beek to just kind of dominate our midfield. And as soon as they've got that control, then their fullbacks start pushing on their foot, and then they start getting the overlaps, and that's what was happening in that game. So I agree.
I was going to say there's plenty of time left, obviously, in this window. So we're not, at the end of August now, realizing that this is what we've got now till January. And to be fair, if you get to the end of this window, then even though we bucked the trend in the last winter window, you don't usually do great business in a January window. I mean, if you've got prepared to throw the absolute kitchen sink at it like Newcastle did, then you might do, but I don't think it's our way. So I don't think we need to be too despondent about it, because I do think if some of the outgoings go that we think will go, then I think he'll have to bring people in. But if we do seriously, and we keep talking about how the two owners are massively ambitious, Gerrard's massively ambitious, the way they talk openly about it not being good enough, and how openly Martin is saying he will not rest until we get into Europe. Well, I don't think we're good enough to be competing top 8 at the moment from what I see. There's some positive signs, and I'm sure we'll have our moments. I think we need a couple more. I think some couple more big signings, a couple more players that are ready for the first team to come in. Personally, I think that's important. I think a midfielder and I think an attacking player. And if Traore goes and El Ghazi goes, you can see us bringing in some kind of, even if it's a wide attacker, but some kind of attacking player. And I think that, subject to what happens, but I can still see another midfielder coming in. So, because I think that's the important thing, that you need people that can make a bit of a difference. There'll be some games where, and we had this last season, if McGinn and Ramsey aren't quite on it, and I don't know, you've got Nakamba playing at the base midfield, or Louise, who aren't, not, I wouldn't say top draw defensive midfielders. Watkins and Ings aren't on it. You're having one of those games where you're losing to Watford, and it's like, what are we doing? Losing to Brentford, just what's happening, lads? We want to be top 8. Well, you've got to be better. And I think the ambition of the club, this is now where you see it. Oh my God, we've changed the playing squad unbelievably in the last 2 or 3 years. But it's now looking at that playing squad and saying, do you know what? There's no sense of like nepotism or favoritism now with these players that have been around for a bit, the Mings, the McGinns. We now need to make a decision. And that decision is, do you want to go for it? Or do you want to be, 8th to 12th? And let's be clear, Gerrard, he's got a lot of backing from Purslow. They've got a history. He's a big name. But there's pressure on him. There has to be pressure on him. I'm sure the pressure from the owners, but pressure from the media as well. And he won't want to be hanging around, 11th, 12th, 14th, 15th place in the league come January, February time. So I think he must be pushing for that, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've got to get some players out first. And I think the other thing to remember is that we're talking about kind of our pre-season tour roundup, and we're talking about what players have impressed and what players haven't. Every single other team in the Premier League will be doing this as well. So they'll be saying, oh, look, who's assessing their team, their squad, and who's impressed, who's put themselves back in the frame, who's out of the frame, who's maybe looking for a move. So I think this week there'll be a lot of kind of agents touting players around, clubs looking for other players. Villa will be looking to offload players as well. So, there'll be a lot of movement, I think, this week. And then I think next week's friendly will probably be, pretty much the team that's going to, maybe barring 1 or 2 positions, maybe, that'll be the team that will start against Bournemouth. They might probably have a behind closed doors match as well over the next week or so. But that will be it. But yeah, I think definitely 1 or 2, 1 or 2 players. I think he'll look at the market. As I say, the season starts, so he might keep one player up his sleeve to wait until if there's any injuries over the first couple of games, and see what's needed there. See if we need to dip into the loan market or something like that. But yeah, I think definitely another big, strong midfielder. Can't have enough of them for me. 6 foot plus. We just need it. We've now got 2 big centre halves. Whoever plays, we've got obviously a big presence in goal. We've got potentially, quite a tall player in midfield in Kamara or Timmy Igbonam, or both. If they both choose to play, I think we need one more. Because
you've got all the luxury around it, haven't you?
Yes,
you've got the
exactly.
Buendia, the Coutinho, you've got the icing, like Tim Sherwood used to say. You just got to complete the cake before you put the icing on.
Exactly. You see what happens. You see what happens when we get a corner. We got a corner in the 92nd minute. What happens if we 1-1 against Bournemouth, 92nd minute, and we've got 4 or 5 big lads going into the box? That's what wins your games. We can talk about the Coutinhos and the Buendias till the cows come home, but what wins your games invariably is goals from set pieces, and we don't do well enough at it.
Yeah,
either end of the pitch.
No, and if you look at where we are now as well, we want to get into Europe, right? They talked about that. Maybe they've not said it openly for next season, but they'd like to do that. At 7th position, right? To get to Europe, based on last year, we'd have to get past Brentford, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Wolves, Brighton, Leicester, and West Ham, right? Now, you're Aston Villa, you've got ambitions to do that. You're not currently in Europe, and let's not forget, I'm not saying we're going to do a Leicester and win the league, but when you've got no European football to worry about, I've seen this talked about Man United quite a bit. I saw Gary Neville mention it the other day. Wouldn't be a bad thing for Eric Ten Hag to do what Klopp did in his first season and finish 8th, because then when you're building in those windows and getting those players in, you can have a real go at it when everyone else is around the arse end of Europe. Particularly some of those, Europa.
A bit like Arsenal seem to have done.
Yeah,
they had a year out, didn't they?
Exactly. And I think it's really important for us now. You get moments and opportunities where, let's be clear, Liverpool, Man City, they're a world away, right? Chelsea, I think there's a weakness there currently. I'm sure they'll bring more players in, but Sterling, he's a good player, but I wouldn't say you're frightened at the level you might be from a Haaland coming into Man City. And then, again, I'm not saying we're going to finish ahead of them, but West Ham, I know they've got some links to players, but I think they're going to be, again, really, really exposed this season. Can they maintain that if they don't bring the players in? Leicester have bought no one. Newcastle have made a couple of signings. Botman's good, but Target, no one else really on top of that. Nick Pope, okay, is a good keeper, but I thought Dubravka was good anyway. You've got Brighton haven't really bought anybody. You can see we should get past them, but is Kamara, Carlos, Rory Wilson, and Coutinho, we had anyway, but we've just signed him permanent. Is that going to be enough to get us past those? I'm not sure it is. So you've got to look at this situation and we're not massively, exhausted in terms of the amount of games we've got. A lot of our rivals are. This is when you need to kick on now. This is the moment, because if all of a sudden Spurs have really pushed on, by the way, they've had a great window. They'll be strong. Arsenal, I think, have had a decent window with Zinchenko and Jesus. So that's decent. So you can start to see now, if you want to start knocking on that door between 5th and 8th, it's up for grabs, lads. It's up for grabs. Who wants it? Who wants it?
You're starting a fight here.
Do you want some? Do you want some?
You got the Wheelstone Raider.
The Wheelstone Raider. I love it.
What a legend. Local legend down here he is, lads.
Yeah, absolutely. So he should be. We need some grit in the midfield.
Keen shoplifter as well.
What?
He's a keen shoplifter, apparently.
Is he really?
Allegedly.
That's the rumour.
Allegedly.
Can I just say, the Villa Park podcast are not saying for definite that rumour. We've heard that rumour. We'd like to say it's not proven at all.
No. It's just I've seen the pictures.
It's the first proper podcast we've done on this channel, and you've nearly ruined it for us, George.
But just to finish off the episode, obviously we talked about incomings and outgoings, and one outgoing that just doesn't seem to be going away is this guy here, Mr. Chukwuemeka, who had a fantastic England Euro under-19s victorious time. He was obviously a big part of that squad that won, along with Aaron Ramsey and Tim Irigbonham, which is fantastic to see Villa players at the heart of that tournament winning side. But for all intents and purposes, obviously we've talked about this a lot last season and heard on the grapevine that it was pretty much a done deal that he was going to go. I think Villa have tried everything that they can to keep him at the club, offered him a good contract, offered him, the ability to play in the first team, which he did last season and could potentially do more of this season. He's obviously not going to do it straight away this season because he's not been part of the pre-season plans. But yeah, Kev, what do you think about this situation with Chukwuemeka? Do we cut our losses now, or do we try and keep him on board?
Get rid. I think I love the way Gerrard's come out and just been like, look, we've offered a good contract basically, and he's still not got anywhere with it, so we've started to leave him behind. Look at the alumni that he was alongside from Villa in the under-19s Euros. Aaron Ramsey on the tour, getting minutes. Obviously, Irigbonham's really, really kicked on in terms of how well he's done. You've got people like obviously Cameron Archer, Kessler Hayden. They're there. They're signing contracts. They're getting opportunities. Where's he going to go? Right, AC Milan and Barcelona are linked, right? Are they AC Milan and Barcelona? I mean, maybe he went to Germany, where a massive generalisation, but Germany does have a bit of a history with it. Musiala and obviously Bellingham, etc. Where Sancho, where they seem to give the youngsters some good game time. Yeah. Is he going to walk into more games at AC Milan than he would at Aston Villa, or more games at Barcelona than he would at Aston Villa? If he goes to West Ham or Everton or else linked to it, is he going to get 15, 20, 25 games a season? What's he done? So clearly he's an agent in his head, but I saw something about him. Apparently, there was only one other player of his age who got more minutes, more appearances in the Premier League than he did last season for Villa. So if you look at, he's 18 years old. Like, if he doesn't want to be there, and look, maybe agent's in his head, but he's 18 years old. He's a man, and he's got to make a decision where he wants to be. And if he wants more money, he'll probably get that elsewhere. If he wants minutes, then the opportunity is there to do it for the Villa. And he's had the contract's been on the table now for probably nearly 9 months, by all accounts. Like, was it December time, whatever it was? So if he's not up for it, move him on. We've got so many positive things in any relationship, right? If one part of that party isn't up for it, what do? Do you cling on to it? If you've tried and tried and tried, at some point your best thing is to go, thanks for your time, all the best of you. See how you get on. That's what I would do.
George, do you think it's a case of an agent in his ear, or if the likes of AC Milan and Barcelona come calling, can you blame him for taking a look at those clubs?
No, I'm completely with Kev. I mean, I think I'm really disappointed by the whole situation, to be honest, because we're becoming like the poster boy club for bringing through youth. We're hoovering up all the good youth around the country. We've got top coaches. He's getting minutes. He's got his brother there. He's seen a pathway with the likes of Ramsey and Kessler Hayden coming through and that. I mean, what more does the kid want? As far as I'm concerned, he's getting England honours. The eyes are on him. He's doing well. Everything's there for him to succeed in Villa in the next couple of years, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it's obviously, like you say, there's someone in his ear telling him, we can get this, we can get this, we can go there. You can be a superstar. You can be on 100 grand a week. And I just hope, I'm not a bitter person. I would love him to do it for us, but I really hope that he doesn't shoot off somewhere, and become an absolute nobody in a couple of years when he's listened to the wrong advice, the wrong people. And, before you know it, he's overtaken and never seen again, because it's all happened in the past.
Yeah, I was also going to add to that. When he's playing for Villa, I don't think he's done much, really. I know, he wants to be in a situation where, he wants to get minutes and make a bit of a difference, but I don't think he has. He got one assist, has he? Maybe?
Yeah, he's been all right. He's been all right. He hasn't set the world alight, has he, Kev? But, this is... The pressure shouldn't be on him at the moment. Hence why I think he should be thriving and just relaxing and, letting it come to him. But he seems to want to grab it a bit too fast for me. I don't know.
And let's not also forget, I didn't mention this name before when I talked about him, but Jacob Ramsey's come in, made himself a first-team regular currently.
Well, that's it.
It's not as
if he can't see that the pathway isn't there. I mean, we've talked about our midfield needing players and needing people to step up and stake a claim. If there's any area of our team that needs someone to
midfield, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not settled at the moment. It's the midfield. So yeah, I just think that if he wants game time, then he's gonna get it. Like our midfield isn't a settled 3 or 4 at the moment. So it just seems poorly handled at the moment. And I think you got to feel slightly sorry for the kid. He's 18, 19-year-old kid who's probably got his everyone in his ear saying one thing and then someone else saying another, and it's.
I'm not sure I feel that sorry for him, to be fair.
Yeah, hopefully they can just say like, what does he want? I mean, essentially they're kids. They're kids at the end of the day, and that's the difficult part of it. What were we like when we were 18? It's not an easy situation to be in, but you take some of the emotion out of it. It's a difficult situation. However, I think all of the indications should be pointing to just staying at Villa. Just you've got yourself into the first team squad. It doesn't need to happen too quickly. Feel like George said, like stop chasing it, because you could end. There's too many stories of players that have gone chasing it and they've ended up on the bench, not around the squad, and then going into a loan deal into the Championship or something.
Yeah, good example that is John Bostock was one, wasn't he? But there's loads more than that. Look, we're not Chelsea. We haven't got 55 million players out on loan for 10 years in a row. Chelsea player, but has played like 2 years in Holland and 2 years in Germany.
He's 33 and never played for Chelsea.
Yeah. Never played for Chelsea. 2 appearances. Carling Cup once, and desperate in Europe. In a dead rubber game in a group stage or something. It's just we're not them. There's so many examples in the pathway. I've got to be honest, Rich. Like, I've got zero fucking sympathy for him. Zero sympathy for him. Like, yeah, okay, Diddums, your agent's in your ear because you want £100 a week and Villa have offered, I don't know, maybe only for 40, 60, who knows? I mean, if it's 40 grand a week, they've only offered you what's that? 160 grand a month. So that's it's only a million.
Is that on with you, mate? 100%.
$1.5 million a year, 18. It's shit, isn't it? That like an opportunity to play first team football. Like my view is very much he's not trying to get himself a situation where he's like, do I do an apprenticeship or, do I sign on for a bit and then maybe, go to university or, I'm hanging around my mates on the street corner and I need to get out of this gang, whatever. Like he's in a situation where he's got an unbelievable club that have supported him and developed him since we've taken him on. He's won Youth Cup honours. He's won international honours. He's got Premier League appearances. And we've offered him a contract to stick around on this journey where we go from being the Championship team 3 or 4 years ago to hopefully a European team in the next couple of years. He's mental if he doesn't go for that. And if he thinks if he thinks the grass is greener, then I respect his decision. And if he proves us wrong, then fair play to him, and maybe he will, and maybe he'll make the right decision and he'll do what we all didn't want to happen with the likes of a Grealish or an Ashley Young or a James Milner or a Stuart Downing, go on to success. But I'm sure he will. But I've got no sympathy for him because he's the only one right now of that whole era.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, his agent's not gonna sack him because he signed a deal for 30 grand a week at Villa, is he? Who
else in the last 3 or 4 years, other than Jack Grealish, who was an absolute superstar, first £100 million footballer, getting a move at 26 to play Champions League football, and he's won the Premier League, right? Other than him, who's not been on the same train that we're all on in any of our team? Some people have probably wanted to be on the train, like Conor Harahan, etc. Would desperately love to have been a part of that, but have not been good enough for the journey. But who that we've wanted to be on the train has wanted to get off the train on their own volition. Only Jack Grealish and Carney Chukwuemeka. And if that's the case, then listen, I'm not bitter about it. We've got plenty of positive things to talk about.
Absolutely.
I just hope, sorry to jump in quickly. I just hope that if he does go, it doesn't become like a trend with the youth thinking, oh, well, hold on, Carney was the best one and he's decided to leave. Maybe this isn't the club for us. I don't think that'll happen, will it?
Nah. No. I think there's enough in the tank for, these other players who've gone out on loan. They can see a pathway. And if they do, they do. Like Kev says, if they do, they do. We that's the whole point of bringing these youth players through. Part of it is to get them into the first team, and part of it is to generate cash to pay for itself and to pay to bring in better players. That's the whole point of it. So, some of them will go on, some of them will go off, and that's that. It's just, I think it's just a shame that we'll probably, he'll probably stick around till January and we'll get 400 grand for him. And really, we should be getting about 10 million for him. But
if we're going to do that, he should just be out of the squad, right?
Yeah, it is what it is. Right, boys. Anyway, we will be back later on this week. I think it's been a great show for our first one on our official channel. We are going to do a bit of a competition to generate new subscribers. So if you are new watching and you have watched today, please click the like button on the video and please give us a subscribe and let us know. We're going to announce it on Twitter. So we're going to give away for any new subscriber over the next few days. You are going to be entered into a draw for either winning a home shirt or an away shirt of your choice. So please make sure you click that subscribe button. Let us know on Twitter or let us know via message on here or on Instagram that you have subscribed. And then we will do the draw on the next show, possibly, which I imagine will be Thursday. If we do one previewing the game on Saturday, or maybe even next Sunday to do a review of that, and then a kind of again a preview of what we think's gonna come in the next season. But we've got loads of shows, Kev, haven't we? We've got season prediction show where we think we'll finish. We've got questions show on Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year, top goal scorer, who we think is going to do that. So loads of things coming up, and I think we'll jump on and do a pod if there's any transfer activity over the next few days as well.
I'm also in talks as well with some of the major media channels about such a bit like Hunted, where we all have to try and find Neil Critchley's passport. So I've got a few of the major networks involved. So if any of our listeners or viewers know where it is, there'll be a bonus prize if you can find Neil Critchley's passport, because he was one of the losers, wasn't he, of this trip? New coach, he couldn't even go to Australia because he had a passport issue. I mean, what's all that about? He's been at home.
Absolutely crazy. I had to watch the training sessions on Zoom, but yeah, maybe we'll cover that on the next one. But yeah, lads, thanks so much for jumping on, and we'll see everyone soon. And remember, we all follow the Villa. Bye, everyone.